when you're in an enterprise setting, there is always the age-old question of whether you should build software or buy in software. And when I say software, products typically. So, if you're in a financial institution or a healthcare setting, should you build internally or should you buy that in? For as long as I've been around, over 35 years, this question has always existed. And it's gone in waves. Sometimes it's kind of waves of a lot of building internally, and then it switches. Well, we've no business building this stuff, and it economically isn't working out. It operationally is costing us too much money because the build situation has a lot of cost. I'll talk about this in a moment. Then, of course, the next wave might be, well, we'll buy everything in and we'll approach the major vendors or the specialist niche vendors. And it kind of goes in waves. With AI right now, my sense is that the wave is very much towards a build preference as opposed to a buy preference. There are, of course, a lot of products out there right now which have a kind of a thin veneer type approach over LLMs, large language models. These are likely not going to be that sustainable in the longer term because they're not that differentiated. So a lot of folks are actually getting mandated to look at building internally. The issue that's happening is that the C-suite is saying we must be on AI. The people who are actually tasked to execute against this don't really know fully the right jobs the AI is good for. And they're desperately looking at LLMs, deploying private LLMs to actually do internal jobs. I suspect that there will be a lot of waste going on here. There will be a lot of kind of private research initiatives not yielding a whole lot. And the reason it'll likely go this way is that the cost is not just the cost of an LLM, and that is decreasing at all stages right now. Private LLMs are popping up like weeds. Over 400,000 LLMs available on Hugging Face. That upfront cost is decreasing. The compute cost will decrease, but actually what will increase is the operational cost of both deployment and managing. And this is as it always was. Back in the day, in the 90s, in the 2000s, when you build internally, most people don't factor appropriately the actual cost to maintain the system. And then you get a situation, and you frequently get this, where one or two people become the key flag flyers of this. They're tech people. Tech people love building tech, so they get off on that. They're delighted to do that, and they leave. What do you do? How do you maintain this system? So built internal systems need a kind of a posture in the enterprise setting that treats it as an internal product and has the qualities of service that aren't quite as high as a product company like VisibleThread has, where we do extensive QA, quality assurance. We do, 2, 3, 4 months of test, early adopter deployments, but they will need a rigor that they may not necessarily be set up to actually have. So I suspect the build trend will continue at least for another 6 months. A lot of projects which will be funded will not yield a whole lot of our return on investment. And then the swing will go back towards a kind of a buy preference. So let's see how it goes. But I don't think this time around it'll be any different. Everything has changed in the sense that generative AI is phenomenal. It's provoking this build versus buy debate again. Everybody needs to get on this kind of bus, but there will be quite a few casualties. And I think the balance sheet of many IT shops will suffer as a consequence.